going on, everybody? My name is Karthik and I'm the Chief Operations Officer for UZ Marketing. Save yourself time, energy, money. SYSTEM. This is something that I learned a long time ago in network marketing, and it stuck around with me to this day because of how much of an impact it had on me back then. I was like 19, 20 years old. I was going to these multi-level marketing meetings, and they would always be talking about system. Save yourself time, energy, money. Of course, in that context, they were trying to sell me on recruiting me so I could go in and recruit for them. I learned a lot from those network marketing events. I learned so much that I carry those things with me to this day. One of the things is called system. When I first heard it, save yourself time, energy, money, it's like the wheels in my head started turning and I started to understand, oh, okay, so maybe there's a way to do things that is automatic, or it saves me time and energy. So how do I do that? How do I figure out how to create a system? Because systems are really robust, right? Like if something is a system, then a lot of thought and planning had to go into it to develop it so that it can be executed. That's what I thought at first. But what I realized is it doesn't have to be long, complex at all. It could be something so small, but these things, when you develop a system, it can make a huge impact over the course of many months or even years. So I want to give you an example. One time, we were having issues with customers receiving the wrong flute direction of yard signs. If you know about yard signs, there's two ways you can have the little corrugation going. One is horizontally and one is vertically. The issue was that somebody might have a portrait sign instead of a landscape sign, and because it's a portrait sign and they upload their image sideways, they think that they have to select horizontal flutes. So enough of these issues happened, and the customers are getting their signs. They're like, oh, I didn't want horizontal flutes, I wanted vertical flutes. But the way that they uploaded made us think that they wanted horizontal flutes. Okay, well, we realized we had to develop a system for that. The customers were obviously getting confused, and our display wasn't very intuitive for the customer, so we changed the way that the website functions. Instead of calling it horizontal and vertical flutes, instead of that, which is an industry standard term, we started calling them for metal H stakes or not for metal H stakes. And this small change, such a tiny change, made a magnificent impact on the rate at which we had those type of issues. It's almost guaranteed that we haven't had a single issue like that in at least the last 2 years. And that's a great development because we were having maybe one issue a month. One customer per month was complaining that they got the wrong flute direction, but we were able to eliminate that 2 years ago. So I imagine that's 24 customers that don't have a bad experience because of that one small change that we made. So those are kind of what systems are. Systems can be anything. It can be anything automated. Now we have a website. UZ Marketing, we have a website, and it's a web-to-print e-commerce platform that is custom built. So a lot of it is manipulatable. Like we're able to manipulate the way that it functions so that it can make the lives easier of the employees and the customers and anybody else too. So anybody on the website, we have to make it easy for them. That's one of the benefits of having a website or a software. You can actually change a lot of different aspects of it. You can change the core function of something to implement a system that helps you impact the way that you're doing business, and you can make it more effective. But how about for people that don't have softwares? Well, this is practical too. You can really implement a system in any business that you have. It could be something as simple as having a certain way of doing things when something happens. Let's use a pressure washing example. Let's say you got a pressure washing job. So what happens when you get the job? You get the call, the customer's like, yeah, I want to move forward. Okay, well the first thing you do is probably send a quote, or you send an invoice. You've already sent the quote because they approved the quote. So that was the first thing, quote, then approved the quote, and then you go up there and then you start pressure washing. But do you have a set system on what you do? Do you have a clearly defined, laid out set of things that you do when you get there? Okay, well here's an example. First thing, you drive up, then you take before picture. So you see where everything was in case you have to move something, you can move it back. And then you have verification of what it looked like before, so you have the data for the future in case a dispute arises. And you also got a picture for the Facebook that you can put on before and after pictures. So after taking the pictures, you go down your checklist, you say, okay, turn the machine on, add the chemicals, and then you start going down the list and you make this list of 10 or 15 things. It's like a cheat sheet that every time you pull up to a job, if you're trying to train somebody, you have this cheat sheet right there, and you can actually pass this on to the new recruit if you hire somebody, and it allows you to leverage their efforts by having them learn exactly what you do in the same way that you do it. So that means you're able to duplicate yourself. So that's an example of a system, and that's just a pressure washing example. There are so many different types of systems you can create. I was listening to this conversation between Ray Dalio, Wall Street investor, and some other guy. He was interviewing him, and in the interview, Ray Dalio mentioned that he mentioned something about how McDonald's had systems a long time ago. Something that just blew my mind, because I'm so used to being able to manipulate systems electronically through websites and stuff like that, but it made me realize systems have been around a lot longer than computers have been around. There's a fundamental thing that Ray Dalio said. He said, when a new recruit goes and learns how to flip burgers, what do they use? It's a training manual. They have a training guide that shows step by step what to do when you start at McDonald's. And when I heard that from Ray Dalio, that's when I had a aha moment. Wow, I've been overcomplicating systems, haven't I? So I've been thinking systems have to be all automated, but while of course systems are automated, systems that are automated are definitely beneficial, there are ways that you can have a system that isn't automated. The thing about a system, whether it's automated or not, is they are essentially eliminating the chance of a mistake from happening. When you have a system, you have a series of 10 things that you have to check off one by one by one. When you go through them and you follow the instructions exactly, it's almost impossible to make a mistake. So if it's in a software, the system checks, okay, this is done, 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 and it goes down the list, and if everything is done, then you automatically have the job completed correctly. So that's one aspect of it, automation. But you know what? Like I said, it's impossible for the system to make a mistake. So whenever we go into systems, whenever we implement systems, we're taking the human element out. Because I'm under the philosophy, and this is how I've thought for a long time, ever since I realized this, humans, if there is a 1% chance of failure, you might as well consider it 100% chance of failure. You can't bank on the fact that 99% of the time the person won't make a mistake, because that's how human nature is. We are prone to mistakes. Now, with that knowledge, if I know that since I am prone to mistakes, I need to make something so that I can make it impossible for the next person to make a mistake, then we eliminate the concept of common sense. Because I've heard the saying all the time, there is no such thing as common sense. I agree with that. I don't think there is such thing as common sense, because what one person was raised with, another person was not raised with. They were raised two completely different ways. So when it comes to common sense, we throw that out the window. So let's not think about common sense. Let's make the system that is dummy proof, to where somebody who doesn't even know how to speak the language can pick up what you have left off and run with it the way you have. Now, I'm exaggerating, obviously. If they don't understand the language, they can't read the system. They can't read the manual, so they can't watch the videos and understand it. But you know what I'm saying. Somebody who doesn't have any skill, that is able to come in and learn something and then become experts at it. Now, I'm going to give you this example, like this story that we have here. We have screen printing yard signs. That's our core function, one of the main things that we do as a business. We screen print yard signs. Now, a lot of times people in the industry, screen printing industry, require that when somebody comes to apply for a screen printing job, they believe that they should have experience, 2, 3, 5 years experience or whatever. So what we ended up doing is we realized we can't find anybody who knows how to screen print yard signs, because it's just like a dying breed, Everybody screen prints shirts. There's 3 screen printing shirts per block around here. But for screen printing yard signs, there is nobody that has experience. So with that situation, we were forced to come up with a training system to train somebody who doesn't know how to screen print yard signs and get them to screen print yard signs. So that's like a system, right? We were able to take somebody with no skill, put them through the course, and that course spits out a person who can function and print screen printing yard signs correctly. So that's a system. I highly recommend, anytime that you get a chance, if you're thinking about something, put it down on paper, write out your process, and then make it so that you're able to train the next person. So you don't necessarily have to train the person, Because at that time you might not have hired somebody, but you're actually notating your process. Let's say you're mowing a lawn. You have a system that you're gonna you do when you get there. You do this. When you finish, you do this. Like all these things, you write it down, notate it. So when it is time to hire the next person, you can say, here's the training course. Follow this system, and you could be a master landscaper within a couple weeks of doing it. So that's about it. I appreciate you guys for listening to this. I hope you'd implement systems because it will save you time, energy, money. So that's about it. Thanks, guys.